Hello Pro Strikers! ONE Championship Muay Thai has pretty much become its own sport. When compared with traditional Muay Thai, it is its own beast. Shorter rounds, smaller gloves, a different scoring criteria favouring aggression, meaning fights are fought at a faster pace and there are more knockouts. So what's the problem, you might be thinking? Let's take a closer look at why the Muay Thai purists may have an issue with the ONE Muay Thai rules format. The gloves. In mixed martial arts, the gloves are smaller and lighter compared to those used in boxing, and this difference plays a significant role in the frequency of knockouts. Let's take a close look at why the gloves may have such a drastic impact on the outcome of a fight. While boxing gloves typically weigh between 8 to 12 for competition, depending on the weight class and type of fight. The smaller, lighter gloves in mixed martial arts mean there is less padding between the knuckles and the opponent's head. This reduced padding allows the force of a punch to be concentrated on a smaller area, leading to a more significant impact when it lands. In contrast, the larger boxing gloves spread the force over a wider area, which cushions the blow and reduces the likelihood of an immediate knockout. As MMA gloves are smaller, fighters can target specific areas more precisely. A well-placed punch to the jaw, temple or chin can easily slip through an opponent's defence and land directly on a vulnerable spot. In boxing, the larger gloves make it harder to find these precise openings, as is the case in traditional stadium Muay Thai, as the gloves can absorb or deflect more of the force before it reaches the intended target. The design of mixed martial arts gloves also differs from boxing gloves, with MMA gloves having an open finger design that allows for grappling. This also means the knuckles are more exposed when striking. In summary, the smaller glove size in mixed martial arts leads to more knockouts because it allows for greater impact force on a smaller area, with the more precise targeting, and a design that favours sharper, more damaging punches. That not only causes knockouts but more superficial damage. As the knuckles are padded, fighters can still punch as hard as they would in a bigger glove. After all, the gloves are designed to protect the fighter's hand and not the opponent, but with the exposed fingers and thumbs, there is a much higher likelihood of sustaining a hand injury. Now, the scoring criteria for ONE Championship Muay Thai differs from traditional stadium Muay Thai in several key aspects. While both adhere to the core principles of Muay Thai, such as striking effectiveness and technique, the emphasis and interception of these elements vary between the two. Let's take a look at the difference between the rules in stadium Muay Thai and ONE Championship's Muay Thai rules, and why this may increase the knockouts in the ONE rule set. Let's start with ONE Championship Muay Thai scoring criteria. In ONE, fights are scored based on the following criteria in order of importance. Knockdowns. Knockdowns carry significant weight in ONE Championship. A fighter who scores a knockdown is likely to win the round unless the opponent dominates the remainder of the round. Damage. The emphasis is on the damage inflicted on the opponent. Strikes that visibly hurt or affect the opponent are scored highly. This includes powerful punches, kicks, elbows and knees that cause the opponent to stumble, stagger or show signs of being hurt. Accumulation of strikes. While a single powerful strike is important, the accumulation of effective strikes throughout the round also plays a critical role. A fighter who lands more effective strikes consistently is obviously favoured. Aggression. Aggression is rewarded, especially when a fighter is moving forward, controlling the pace of the fight and initiating exchanges. However, the aggression must be effective. Simply moving forward without landing significant strikes is not enough. Cage/ring control. Similar to aggression, controlling the space in the ring or cage is valued. This involves dictating where the fight takes place, cutting off the opponent's movements and controlling the pace of the fight. Now let's take a look at traditional stadium Muay Thai criteria before we summarise how this might have an impact on the way the bouts are fought. In contrast, traditional stadium Muay Thai in Thailand, such as fights held at Lumpini or Rajadamnern stadiums, use a different approach to scoring. Firstly, the primary criterion is the effectiveness of Muay Thai techniques, particularly kicks and knees. Clean, controlled strikes that land with impact are scored highly. Kicks to the body are particularly valued, often scoring more than punches. Balance and position. A fighter who maintains balance and position, especially after delivering or receiving a strike, is scored favourably. This reflects the traditional Muay Thai emphasis on composure and technical skills. Dominance in the clinch. In stadium Muay Thai, clinching is a significant aspect of scoring. A fighter who controls the clinch, lands effective knees and maintains balance whilst doing so is considered dominant. ONE Muay Thai has reduced clinch, which forces the fighter to trade more frequently. The more exchanges, the higher likelihood of a knockout. Ringcraft and control. Similar to ONE Championship, ring control is very important in traditional stadium Muay Thai, but the interpretation is a little different. Stadium Muay Thai values a fighter who can effectively use the ring to their advantage, often using retreating techniques to control the distance and frustrate the opponent. They can still be rewarded by fighting on the back foot. Round by round scoring. In traditional Muay Thai, the first 2 rounds are often scored more leniently, unless there is a significant difference between the fighters. The final rounds, especially rounds 3 and 4, are often given more weight in the overall decision. In round 5, you'll often see a fighter be more tactical, where a fighter might seal their victory or conserve energy if they believe they are ahead. It's not uncommon for fighters to completely stop fighting in the final 30 seconds of the 5th round. So the key differences: emphasis on damage and knockdowns. ONE Championship places a higher emphasis on damage and knockdowns compared to traditional Muay Thai, where technical effectiveness and balance are more highly valued. Scoring of punches. In the ONE rule set, punches are scored more favourably if they cause visible damage, whereas in traditional Muay Thai, punches are often considered less valuable than kicks or knees unless they are exceptionally effective. Aggression. ONE rewards aggression and forward movement more than traditional Muay Thai, where a more patient, strategic approach can still be rewarded, particularly if the fighter is scoring effectively with counter strikes. So let's work the pros to ONE's rules. I would say the biggest and arguably most important aspect to the fighters is the fighters are making more money. They not only benefit from larger purses than they'd receive fighting on lower level shows and in the stadiums, but the added sponsorship revenue due to a fighter fighting on a bigger platform with more eyes cannot be overlooked. Social media savvy fighters can earn themselves far more through creating their own brand. And there are now fighters in Muay Thai that have become somewhat household names. The fighters that favour punching as their preferred method of attack can have more success due to the smaller gloves and scoring criteria in ONE rules. Western fighters in particular have benefited from these changes, which means Muay Thai has gained wider exposure with fighters from Europe and the UK becoming champions under the format. Again, this brings more eyes to the promotion, which in turn benefits the fighters. Similarly to the UFC, Yadri Chatri will give out performance bonuses, as much as $100,000, which is a life-changing sum of money for any fighter.
But $100,000 from the chairman and CEO.
Even if you're on the bottom of the card fighting for only a few $1,000s, the fighter has the chance to walk away with maybe 10 times their purse through having an exciting fight. Not only does the fighter win financially, but the fans win as they will not only be rewarded with a more exciting spectacle, with fighters having a bigger incentive to fight hard, but also the feel-good factor of seeing their favourite fighter bettering their lives by winning a bonus. Now let's take a look at the cons. As someone who has been around the Muay Thai community for a while, I can tell you that a lot of Muay Thai purists have mixed feelings about ONE Championship's Muay Thai format. First off, ONE Championship Muay Thai takes place in a cage rather than a ring, which already gives it more of an MMA vibe. Purists believe that this changes the dynamics of a fight, and it certainly does. The traditional ring, with its corners and ropes, plays a crucial role in the strategy and flow of Muay Thai. Fighters use the ropes for leverage, corner their opponents, and the space itself dictates a more controlled pace. Then there's the issue of the smaller gloves used in ONE Championship's Muay Thai. These gloves make the strikes more impactful and the defence more challenging. Whilst this adds in excitement and brings more knockouts, which is great for entertainment, it makes the fights less about technical aspects of Muay Thai and more about fighters just banging it out. Traditional Muay Thai is as much about skill and technique as it is about power, and the bigger gloves used in stadium Muay Thai allow for a more strategic and tactical fight. I'd say this has also changed the styles which can be successful under the ONE rule set, with an emphasis on punches and forward aggression. The Muay Mat style of fighter are favoured over the Femurs, and with the limited clinch, the Muay Cow knee style fighters can struggle to have the same success that they'd have in the stadiums. The rounds in ONE are also shorter, and there's fewer of them, with the norm being 3 by 3 minute rounds. Traditional Muay Thai always has 5 rounds, with the first 2 often being slower and more about feeling out the opponent. This gives fighters time to showcase their technique and adapt their strategy. They get to have a better look at their opponent. The shorter fights in ONE mean there's less time for this and more pressure to go all out from the start. This is why we see a lot more knockouts in the opening round, which again, with concussions and broken hands, isn't always great for the fighters. Finally, there's the cultural aspect. Traditional Muay Thai is deeply rooted in Thai culture, with the pre-fight rituals, the music, and the atmosphere of the stadiums like Lumpini or Rajadamnern being a huge part of the experience. ONE Championship strips away a lot of that in favour of more globalised commercial presentation. For purists, this can feel like losing the soul of what makes Muay Thai special.
To the music called the Saramat, that is played by a live band throughout every fight.
In the end, while ONE Championship Muay Thai can be incredibly exciting and has done a lot to popularise the sport worldwide, it doesn't always capture the essence of traditional Muay Thai. For fans of the stadium scene, it can feel like something important is missing. Now, Pro Striking is a big fan of ONE Muay Thai rules and appreciates the platform it has given to fighters. Fighters making more money and having more people watching is definitely a good thing. I'm also partial to watching a good scrap, and there's plenty of barn burner fights in ONE Championship rules. The bottom line is if the fighters are happy, the people that are actually getting in there and putting it on the line, then who can really complain? I hope ONE can continue to put on great fights, but I also appreciate going over and watching Rajadamnern World Series and seeing the slightly more technical side of Muay Thai over there. I'd like to think that the rise of ONE has maybe brought more eyes to Muay Thai on the whole, and there are more fans now watching both sides of the sport. Do you think ONE Championship has ruined Muay Thai, or do you think it's a better version of the sport? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and subscribe, and you can also support the channel via Patreon, the link will be in the bio. Pro Striking appreciates you more than watching top ties dog it out in the 4-ounce gloves.
Now we on the road to righteousness through thunder or the rain. I've got numbers on my mind, works peak coming home to motherfuckers on my line. Never needed more hours, but I'm running out of time. So that will be the fish that he can sense the bell, he can feel the title. So this up is feel the stress with me. See the best of me, never needed therapy. Just get them reading hella books and then defeat their enemies. This is the reason they are free. This is the